Or duty. Thrown in there.
They're only once in a. So we're gonna start. I'll give you this, I know it's challenging, but not fun, but. This is, you can unmute?
Yeah, you're on meeting.
Okay. Town of New Falls Planning Board, October 27th. We get a quorum check for November 10th.
I'll be here.
Okay, I will not be here. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for October 16th?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone here for public comment? Anyone there for public comment on Zoom? Are we doing public Zoom now?
No.
We're still not
we
doing
can't
that.
do that, yeah.
Not yet. Okay. Horsenden Road. Hey, how are you?
Okay. So at the last meeting, we talked about the plan, we talked about the comments, from Andy. We talked about what's happening with the deed restrictions and how we're referring to that. So, we did update the plan. I have a cover letter that pretty much addresses, as many comments as possible. I left in red, obviously, we did not do an estimate for the bond yet until we get this accepted. So this submission is simplified a little bit, that we have outlined what we're calling, the limit of building envelope, and on the other side is open space. So zoning does, have a requirement for open space area. So we've updated the zoning compliance table for each lot, like Cassandra had mentioned. So it shows how much of each lot has open space to meet that 60% requirement. So on here, and these substantially follow what we had shown before when we were talking about the conservation easements and things like that. So there's a limit of building on each lot now, and anything that's not in the limits of the building is open space. So that's been defined for each lot. Some of the other items that we talked about was updating, obviously, the road and the road detail, the standards on there. So that's all been done. After I printed it, I did realize that because we added some stormwater in this area, I have to get an easement over that, but that's just technical, and we'll get that on there. So we did address the mitigation of stormwater. We did provide a stormwater pollution prevention plan narrative. And some of the items that came in afterwards, we had a meeting with the county DPW on the site, and I do have an email. I know I had copied Andy on it, that basically says they're accepting of the locations that our accesses are, and they're gonna have requirements for site clearing. So we have to propose where that's gonna be and send that back to him. But I do have that I can submit for your records. And we just got today an email, letter of jurisdictional determination from the DEC, which I admittedly have a hard time understanding these letters. Because we've got, let me just go back to the sheet. We've got a table here of, I'm sorry, it's on the existing conditions of the wetlands. Oh, it is here. And there's 4 separate, wetlands on here, which have been delineated. They've been checked by, the town as well. So, and I'll submit this and I'll submit it for review. I'm waiting for clarification from Mike Nowicki because their description in this table talks about a class 2 that's contiguous to a fresh surface waters having a class B, which is a stream that's over here. So this is the property. Well, it is the property.
I don't know if you need to answer, can you see?
The state has a designated stream that's off of the property here, which this kind of wetland encompasses. So this is the class B stream. So this is definitely state wetlands. I'm not clear whether any of the other wetlands are state wetlands or not. So I'm gonna have to get clarification from Mike Nowicki on that. Assuming they are, which, I know we talked about last time. Initially, we had shown 100-foot buffer from all the wetlands. But then after the town looked at it, they're like, oh, no, this one is less acreage and that one's less safe. So they only need a 50-foot buffer. Regardless, even if they do require a 100-foot buffer, we're not disturbing any of it. So once I get clarification, I can adjust the adjacent area. So that's where we're at. I know Cassandra also sent an email. So some of the things, this is something to talk about. We did kind of put a rough list for the open space restrictions on our plan. And so we could talk about that. And this also is going to be developed by the attorney, right? They're going to send language for that. That's going to be reviewed by you. But just briefly, so we talk about that the areas beyond the limits of building envelopes shown hereon are considered open areas and subject to building and use restrictions to provide protection and preservation of wetlands, steep slopes, wooded areas, and wildlife. The areas shall remain undisturbed and provide a visual screen and/or separation between adjacent properties and enhance the overall aesthetic of the residential development. So the restrictions, open space boundaries shall be identified by meets and bounds descriptions and clearly marked on each lot by installing stakes, posts, or signs at corners and key points along the boundary. Stormwater management practices as shown hereon shall be installed, accessed, inspected, and maintained as necessary by the town and/or owner. No construction of permanent structures, no trimming, cutting, removal of trees or shrubs other than those that are dead and/or have fallen as related to public safety and general site maintenance. No soil disturbance, including filling, grading, excavation, digging, or dredging. No littering or dumping of garbage or waste. No parking or operation of motor vehicles or campers. So those are the highlights. If there's, something specific, we can add it. If there's, obviously there's going to be other legal language that'll, we can take from whatever the document is and add it on here if we have to. But, Cassandra's letter had noted, to denote that the corners would, be marked, and a draft language of the deed restrictions and a waiver, for the code outlining proposed grade. So that was one thing that we talked about last time, that it was recommended by Andy to have the maximum road grade increased to 10%, which reduces the amount of grading, cut and fill and clearing. So with the code, so we didn't word this as a waiver. but in our cover letter, it says, with the transition of vertical curves at the changes of grade, the road grade varies between 8 and 10% maximum for a total distance of approximately 145 feet between stations 2+30 and 3+75. As the road is classified as a minor street, we hereby request that the planning board consider approval of the 10% maximum grade as outlined in the code 121-21I1, which reads, grades of all streets shall conform to the general terrain and shall be no less than 0.5%, no more than 8%, except that minor streets with grades up to 10% may be approved by the planning board. So it's not really a waiver request, but it is outlining that this is something that the planning board has to approve, and we hope that language is acceptable.
Yeah, but from my point of view, it's acceptable. It's acceptable to the board.
Okay, Andy, you have other new stuff?
Yeah, so I did have a new letter today, since I got it.
No, sir.
Okay, came out this morning, I'll give you this, and I'm done reading it, but maybe in the meantime, so our wetland inspector is here, Mark Carabetta, maybe you can take a look at that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
To get an idea of that.
So this is the letter, and then this is what I just printed out from the, environmental resource mapper identifying what stream he was talking about, so.
All right, so while he's looking at that, I know you haven't seen this yet, but, so the
Thank you.
level spreader. I was, looking for some kind of upgrades on that, just being consistent with some of the language, it seems to kind of call out a couple of different things. But I sort of want to make it, this was pretty close to being a full SWIP, so I want to sort of get close to that, what you would have had to do, so I want to make it a little bit more of like a bioretention area. And not really make it that much bigger, but change the side slopes, add some topsoil to the bottom, and I know you haven't read this yet,
Mhm.
seed it with a detention basin mix. I want to add a note to the road detail on compaction, 97%. Want to make all culverts 15-inch diameter minimum, I just think it's better to let the leaves go through. There's one spot where it says a 10-foot wide drainage easement. I think it just needs to be clarified when it's actually a 30-foot wide. The DPW, it sounds like they're asking for the same thing they asked for 15 years ago, right? Just to clear and grade actually some of the side slope along Horsenden. So if you could just add that, I know you just got the comments.
Yeah.
To improve site distance is what they want.
Yeah,
So if you could add that to the plans in the next round.
Yeah.
We'd see what that looks like.
yep, for sure. Yeah, and I know, and just to show, like, especially at this driveway, there's this rock right here that's higher, so that is coming out. And they were both just trees and vegetation on this side, but this here is really where the rock removal is gonna be,
Yeah,
right at the entrance, yeah. Okay, I didn't get your, I don't know, I got a really weird page here, but was that uploaded today on the
Which one?
His letter.
Andy's letter?
Andy's, yeah, I uploaded it this evening.
Okay, all right, so I can get
I'll
it
give you
there.
this.
Okay.
The subdivision map, you said is on the way, that we can feel the areas and the setbacks and.
Yeah, if this is acceptable, I would really like to send it to the surveyor. I know we talked about that a little bit
Yeah.
last time, and, just to make sure we're all on the same page, and yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of put them on notice last week that,
Okay.
we were having this meeting and hopefully I'd be getting it to him,
Right.
so,
Okay,
yeah,
I think it seems like we're kind of there.
Okay, good.
Stuff.
yeah.
Okay, you're gonna get us the road cost estimate.
Mhm.
Sounds like we're kind of getting to that point, maybe not quite, but so we can do the bond. Or at least get ready for that. A DEC, we talked about, Mark's reviewing that, DEC wetlands. The open space areas. So last meeting, we talked about putting, so there's gonna be, each lot's gonna have like a restricted area. essentially where you're not allowed to do certain things. The grade, you're not allowed to put a structure. And we talked about putting some kind of markers actually on your property, so you see that this is the area that's restricted, so. Not a conservation easement, right? So I think we should talk about what's it gonna be called, you know, is it a conservation area? What are these markers gonna look like? And then I think showing them on the plan so that the surveyor can put them in. So that the homeowner sees that and it'll be a marker that physically identifies it. And also the building envelope, I see that I know that's a common term that is used, you know, they call like the conservation area and then the area where you can do things, the building envelope. I don't love that term. I know it's used a lot. Cause to me, it's a little bit misleading. It's like you can, people are like, oh, I can put a building anywhere in here, which isn't really what it means. So I would almost not call that anything, in my opinion. There's a conservation area where there's restrictions. The rest of your land is just your land, you know, instead of calling it something that might be misleading, in my opinion.
So we're gonna just call it
Land.
open
Don't
space.
call it anything, like the land and the inside is, you know, I don't think we need to call it anything.
What are we calling the line that delineates between,
That's the conservation area, that's so the area, conservation area is a conservation area, the rest of the land doesn't really need to give it a name, in my opinion, because it's just your land.
okay, so, cause we're not calling it conservation area really, but we do have to call it open space. One, it's required by the code, and two, that's what we're gonna have, the open space restrictions.
I will say when I do the deed, when we look at the deed language, it's probably gonna be called buildable area or something to that effect, but I get your point of it's not really. But you have to differentiate it on the legal document and the map has to match. So it's probably gonna end up being called something to like buildable.
Okay, I think that's fair to call it something, I don't know, but
I know.
actually, what I was saying before is that we should call it a conservation area, it's not a conservation easement, is what I was saying, because it's not an easement, but it is a conservation area or whatever we wanna call it, it's a protected area.
There's fine.
Yeah, well, what I mean,
Yeah,
I agree. I just need to know, I was trying to match what the zoning said at this point, because they didn't think we were calling it a conservation easement from the conversation last time, so, you know, like I said, whatever it's called, we just have to be consistent and,
Did you
Yeah.
say it has to be called open space under some?
yeah, the, zoning, has a, minimum required open space, literally 65% of,
Has to be labeled.
has to be open space.
But
And
doesn't,
there's a definition in the zoning code for open space, which I don't remember right now, but that is basically part of this language to,
Yeah, they're really-
to
they're really
preserve
two different
and,
things.
yeah.
They're really two different things. Open space calculation is really a separate zoning requirement. This is really something that you're providing as part of the subdivision.
Yeah,
conservation
would-
area. So I don't know. if
Right,
they're the same.
so, right, so it's a little bit more in some cases, some of the lots are right, the smaller lots are right at 65%, some of the lots are 78%, 76, 70, 73%, so it is more than the minimum, but open space came with its own kind of language in the zoning code, but yeah, I mean, whatever the board wants us to call it, we're happy to, we just have to label it something because it has to be defined.
Well, I think there's some, listen to this. Open space in this code is almost like a green space, and then there's open space declarations, which is there's permanent open space and there's green space, which is this town code calls open space, but you'll see it in other places as green space. So they're not, like it doesn't need, like we're requiring because of the ENCB's recommendation, there's kind of so you didn't have to do a conservation subdivision, this idea of keeping it unbuildable, but it's not the same. I think you're conflating the two based on the zoning code. It's just green space, that's all that means. It means non-buildable space versus space held in conservation. No, and I know it
I-
sounds like such a
Yeah,
minimal
I'm not
thing.
an attorney, so honestly, whatever you wanna call it.
So to simplify it, the open space zoning requirement has nothing to do with this conservation area.
Correct. It's, what that is if you ever see it in city codes, they call it green space. It's like what most codes call it green space. That's all it is, just space to kept green. That's why they call it that. This code uses open space throughout it, and it is a little confusing because but they define agriculture as something else, so that's why it ends up being the same name.
You're trying to figure out what to call
Well,
it.
no, I know.
Yeah, I gotta call that line something, and then I gotta call that
it
space.
Conservation area,
Yeah.
it's fine to call it
Conservation
building.
area.
Conservation area is fine, and it's part of it's easiest to refer to.
And then if we need to call the inside area something,
I call it
Yeah.
buildable area. Versus overbuilding envelope,
okay, that's fine.
So limits of building area,
yeah, building, your attorney will have language of what to call it, like when you pull that in front of him, I guarantee you, or her, she'll have language.
Okay.
The drafts will have, she'll pick a template that has a bunch of different terms for it.
okay,
But yeah, but the point is 65% is not the same thing, like the whole 65% doesn't need to encompass the whole lots, like that's a different. That's, you're not set to that requirement, it's just green space.
oh, well, we got it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all there,
Right.
it's all good.
All right, so
All right,
So that's just semantics, we'll work it out.
so, all right, so you'll provide some kind of detail what these markers will look like, there's a couple different, options, something that lasts, I don't think it should be like some giant post, but something that you see on your property, so if you want to come up with. First.
Well, maybe we could talk about that though, like, does it want to be like some sort of, almost like people put out reflective markers on
Mark, do you have suggestions for that? Like, don't they usually sometimes mark out like, DC wetlands or certain areas or like those like.
little monuments.
Yeah, those Carsonite marker or whatever.
Yeah,
they're
the
called.
little monuments.
I'm used to the stone ones for subdivisions,
They're better, they're nicer.
yeah, they're more expensive.
If you wanna come up with something, I don't know, it needs to be, I would say something. 18 inches.
Visible.
Yeah.
Is there something that you can share with me that I can at least be on the same page?
What were they called? What were the little stone
They're usually called monument markers,
monument markers?
stone monument markers,
So they're actually stone or like concrete markers?
yeah.
You're right.
Okay, so like the lot corners, that's what you want for the open
Building
space markers?
I believe they're called like Carsonite markers, like there's some kind of marker that I've seen for, marking for this particular thing, and they do make them out there, and they're not stone. But they're meant to be permanent markers in the field. So this is not, it's not something we're inventing, there's some.
Our survey department has something, I don't know if it's the same thing
Yeah.
you're talking about, but they often have to mark and.
I think if you.
Monument.
That boy, oh, yeah, well, same page.
See, there you go.
All you can do is.
There's Google.
Yes, yes, that's a type of carcinite marker, but something that has,
Some kind of wording on
Can you see it?
Oh. Yeah, so you want that in people's yards?
Can I see? I like that. So, white and red.
They're like marking a gas line.
I like the stone idea better for.
So
Personal
typically, for when I do open space conservation on people's lands with land trusts, we do stone markers, but they're more expensive.
it. I mean, we could do stone, but are they gonna think that's the property owner?
Yeah, it's the issue, and these are now like.
It's like gravestone.
Yeah,
I
these
don't-
are like very-
I
I'm
don't
gonna have
think
to
we should
find,
talk about it all night, I think we should.
you could like, and you could just price it out, yeah, they look like this, and there's a monument marker.
Okay, you know what? I will ask the surveyor to chime in on that. We might.
It doesn't have to be that, right? You
Yeah,
don't
it
have
doesn't have to be
put it-
that, that's. a-
And you don't have to
Okay,
just come with something.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Um,
Okay, the driveway for lot, I'm almost done here, driveway for lot 3 and 4, you're gonna provide a driveway maintenance agreement, I think that was on your list. Yeah. Septic system approval you're working on, and then the waiver request would be something that goes in the resolution, that was everything I had. Good.
Thank you.
So for the wetlands, so I'll just start from the beginning. So you guys, Mike and Ricky delineated the wetlands. I went out and verified them. You guys had 100-foot buffer around all the wetlands. So by the town wetland code, all lands that meet the definition of a wetland that is over 1/10 of an acre are regulated And if it's less than an acre, it has a 50-foot buffer. And if it's more than an acre, it has a 100-foot buffer. So that's what my comments were based on. But then I put in my memo to check with the DEC whether they're taking jurisdiction, because DEC used to map all their wetlands ahead of time. And that changed at the beginning of this year. Now they have a little more complicated criteria for which wetlands they regulate. So this is just saying that they are gonna regulate the wetlands on the property. It's
All
not,
of them? That's all, I am not
Yeah.
clear on.
that's what it's
So
saying.
even this over by this ditch?
Well,
I'm just so
The thing is-
confused.
I would send them, this is just saying that it's jurisdiction. They will regulate the wetlands. It doesn't, they don't know that you've already delineated the wetlands. So I would say,
They
ask,
should though, because Mike Nowicki made the submission to the DEC.
he sent them the delineated wetlands?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
You sure? Cause usually it's online, you just.
No, he sent the whole package
may not
that he
be-
did already because,
because it
Yeah.
said here,
I know, it says to delineate them and
yeah, it
it's like,
says to
They
delineate.
probably didn't look at it.
Yeah, I would ask them, I would send them your plans and say that, you know, thanks for the determination and here's the wetland delineation and here's what we're proposing and none of it's within the delineated wetlands or the adjacent areas.
Yeah.
Cause you're outside of 100 feet, right? Even the areas where I said to reduce. to
yes,
50.
yes,
You're
know,
outside
even
line.
this is, because that's more, yeah.
Yeah,
So this road, just what's along the, County Road is, basically the area that they maintain. There's some, in the buffer, but for the site clearing, but that's it.
Yeah.
Everything is out. So, yeah, I'll have to have Mike Nowicki follow up on that. He's been having the, communication with them and it is gonna be what it is, but still, it doesn't impact the design, even if it is 100 foot. So, yeah. Thank you for that clarification. You can
Okay.
keep that if you want.
What can we do next today here as a board?
You can, the only thing I would do today would be send it to county, if you were ready for that. Otherwise, I would wait for a surveyor to get the prelim. And at next meeting, submit for preliminary plat approval if it's ready.
Okay, so
And there's no
you need
catch
this,
here.
now you need the survey map in 2 weeks? Okay, because at the last meeting, that's what I said. I'm like, I'd like to get it to the surveyor. And you guys were like, no, we're not ready. All right, what about seeker? I mean, we haven't had any discussion. I feel like we've submitted everything along seeker. Is that something that, if we're not ready to go through part 2 tonight, can we have that ready for next time? Can we really start? I mean, we're like 98% designed and we haven't done,
So seeker isn't
You know.
holding you up, right? So seeker is not holding you up.
well, we can't schedule a public hearing. We can't do anything until we do seeker.
You could schedule a public hearing, you just can't close it. You can't do seeker until you you have to keep the hearing open, but you could schedule it. But since you don't have a preliminary plat in, I wouldn't recommend the board schedule a public hearing for prelim yet because you don't have preliminary plat to schedule the hearing.
Well, we haven't actually gotten sketch plan.
You don't have sketch plan in Newport, so the code doesn't have sketch plan. Prelim is the first thing to do.
Okay.
So, and you're gonna need a public hearing for preliminary. Seeker was circulated. I haven't found all the records. I wouldn't recommend until. I mean, now we got the jurisdiction, we just got the jurisdictional today, which I haven't even looked at. I believe the wetlands inspector, that it's not bad, but I'm not prepared to. Unless the board's prepared, I have to review everything who was circulated to. I assume you got no responses, but I don't know that for a fact.
There was nothing ever
No.
uploaded, so.
Do you know if you ever got responses and who was circulated to?
No, I mean, I have, it should be up on Munich Lab, who it was circulated to, but I didn't.
Yeah,
get
the
any
intent-
responses from any of the,
I mean, I don't, just to be clear, I don't expect anyone to pick lead agency. I just want to make sure no one responded. The people off the top of my head, DOT, Department of Health, DEC. Board, 12 Alarm recorded up. Did Army Corps there's a question, did Army Corps did you get a jurisdictional letter from Army Corps?
Army Corps did not respond in their time frame, and then just said, you know, whatever
Okay,
you do is approved.
They would only regulate direct impacts.
correct. No, I agree, but you never know. It's a question I just have to ask. I mean, I think, again, Seeker's not holding you up. I think if, you know, if the board wants to move forward tonight with Seeker, they can. I would recommend, you know, you don't know exactly where the wetlands are yet, so I would wait till next meeting and the plat, and wait for the plat to actually be done before you do Seeker on a plat that's not in front of you.
Okay. So let's take a vote to send it to county. Have a motion for,
So moved.
okay,
Second.
okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna wait till next time to do that. You're gonna be back in 2 weeks?
I hope, well, when's the meeting's November 10th, right? So, oh my gosh, when's the deadline for that?
Today.
Your meetings are so like, they're not, so I guess we wouldn't be back until
The following
the
week.
following, which is, I don't know, are you, when is that? The Monday before Thanksgiving?
Okay, so what, how much does she have to do? Well, you have to get to your surveyor,
I
right?
gotta get to the
Yeah.
surveyor, which, you know, like I said, I gave him a heads up, but I didn't circulate the CAD drawing to him or anything, and I don't know what. So I don't
So we're
think
not
we're
gonna-
making it for November
Even
10th.
even if I gave you an extra couple of days, it's still not gonna work, so.
No, so November 24th, as long as we have it in 2 weeks in advance. And, okay, that'd be great.
And then there's final. Oh, so you're gonna have prelim, then final.
Yeah, because like I said, we really, you know, because we've gone back and forth on these discussions, I circulated to the owner and the surveyor saying, we're gonna need these things, gonna need your attorney, but, but we've got to get them on board, and I think some of the document things are obviously, like I said, a condition of approval,
Agreed.
so, and then I think once we have preliminary, we would ask the planning board to refer it to the town board, so that they can review, or, you know, for the road or for the anything that any of the documents that they have to accept.
The only thing they have to accept is the road, right?
Okay, so the next submission, we can get it referred to them for acceptance for the road.
Yeah, I would do both channels at the same time. Like, when you get your preliminary, I would go before the town board and get, like, I would talk to the highway super to get on the agenda to do them
So
both at the
doesn't
same
the
time.
planning board though have to refer that, like, this is the site plan that they're looking at, and they refer it to them? So, I
To the
mean,
town board?
yeah,
You guys typically do that? It's not in your zoning code.
No.
no,
It's typically how it works is, sometimes, if I'm close to the town attorney, or I am the town attorney, I'll put it before, it's DPW that usually refers, because all the town is gonna do is ask, hey, highway inspector, do you like the road? You do? Okay, now as a board we'll decide. So it's usually done through DPW, not the planning board. So, you know, I would ask the highway super, is this ready to go before the town board? And then, do they have the documents? And then, I don't know, Amanda can call me if it's a question.
so are they gonna need like the whole deed and everything, or do they just?
When you offer for dedication, it'll be contingent on an undertaking and filing of the subdivision. So that's what it'll be contingent on. So you'll get conditional approval from this board, you'll get conditional approval from that board, that you will file the deed and, they will accept the road and bond. It'll be
So
conditional on
that's
the
the thing,
bond.
so does this board, or I was on my understanding, the town board has to accept the bond?
So this board recommends the bond amount because the town board doesn't have their own engineer. We have the engineer, so the town, we do seeker, we look at the bond, Andy will review the amount that you suggest, he says yes or no, that's not enough, that is. Then he'll make a recommendation to this board, which will probably approve most likely at the same time you get final plat, usually do them in one resolution.
So we'll probably not go to the town board until we have that recommendation.
It's up to you, I mean, the
Well, I
town board.
don't, you
will
know, I
approve the
don't want to
bond.
keep coming 100, you know, I don't want to go to their meetings 4 times. So I just want to make sure that we have the package, and obviously they are looking for a recommendation, at least from the town engineer.
I mean, I would wait till preliminary and then go at the same time. By preliminary, you should know how much, you should have an idea of what things are going to look like, as once the board accepts for preliminary, you could go to the town board.
Okay. Okay,
I would come back, you have a new letter here from us, address those comments. Come back with, do you have an attorney on the project?
I don't know who the owner's attorney
I mean,
is.
you have a driving maintenance agreement, you have a conservation area,
And you have town easements that also need to be approved by the town
and
board.
you have an offer of session for the road.
Yeah,
So
and
we're gonna need all these
the, the property that's gonna get dedicated to the county also.
Right.
Yeah, oh, I know. They got a lot to do and
And I don't know if this, the conservation area wording might be something this board probably should have before we seek it. You know, that's a.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal.
well, I mean, we know we're doing it. So I think we can make a determination of significance, knowing that that's being done and the condition of the subdivision is approving that language. So I don't think that should hold up secret.
It shouldn't hold it up, but if the board wants to put something on, you're just gonna have to follow it without the language. So if the board felt really strongly about a road deck going over a wetland, this is not what's happening here. What I'm saying is in theory, or they wanted 10 parking spaces or something, and your plans didn't have it and you don't have the language, you're bound by the secret determination. So, sometimes people like to do it in tandem. You don't have to. There's no conservation analysis. It's not gonna hold the board up. It can be a condition, but it has to match. So if the board is really aggressive with their significance, then you're stuck with the secret determination. So some people do like to put it up in advance. I've seen it both ways. It doesn't really matter.
I don't see the big rush, isn't there? There's documents that aren't complete yet. Let's get everything.
And I'm gonna have to review them all. Usually I review stuff before it goes to the town board and make a recommendation to the town attorney. Like I usually look at the offer session because the town attorney doesn't know the plans and make a recommendation to them. So you're still gonna give all the documents to me. Unless this board does it differently, but that's typically how planning boards work because the town attorney doesn't know the project.
And that has to be done before final approval, but not preliminary approval.
No, I mean, I would just condition some of those documents. So yes, those have to be done for final. But the more you get done before final approval,
Yeah,
the less conditions.
I
you
know,
have.
I just, at this point, it's 2 weeks to make the submission and
Yeah.
we're just sharing this with them, because we've been kind of waiting to get to this point. So I doubt the attorney or the surveyors can have everything 100% complete for, to have a preliminary approval or secret determination or to start scheduling a public hearing. Because other things might come up that we don't know about.
Still have a couple of weeks to get a lot of it done,
Yeah,
right, before you have to submit. If you're a day or two late, we'll probably be okay with that. So I think you're not in as bad a shape as you think you are.
no, not for what I have to do. I'm confident I can address anything. I just don't know about the other consultants.
Mhm.
So,
I'm gonna give you this. This is just a few notes from today. If you just sign that you got it.
here,
Sure.
thank you. Okay. All right, we'll see you next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. About the phone. Brooke Ferris, someone here from Brooke Ferris?
Facility land surveying. It's been a while since I've been here speaking about this one. I think it was
And we
last
have new-
February.
And we have new board
Yeah,
members,
definitely
so.
some new faces around here, so we
Mhm.
can take the rundown on everything. I know the project's changed just a little bit since the last time I was here.
Mhm.
We ran into some issues meeting your requirements, involving proving the larger lot was buildable when they were wanting to create this lot over here. They decided to streamline the project. It's most important that they do this lot line consolidation, and they want to add the 2.5 acres to the existing 1.5 acres from the 31 acre lot. And just have this become a part of this, totaling 3.99 acres. So at this point, we're not proposing any new parcels. It's just a simple lot line adjustment to add a little bit of land to the existing house over here. So I think that answered a lot of our questions from last time as far as, you know, proposed construction, buildable lot, access, water, septic, all those things.
So the entire project is just a lot line,
Yep, we're just the lot line adjustment right now, just right here.
the same owner on both?
Correct.
And you want to talk,
Yeah.
you want to address this?
All right, so, I have a letter today. Okay.
Yeah, I saw it.
The root, almost all the issues were related to the new lot, the lot 3 that they were proposing. So it's a lot simpler project now with the lot line. I just had a couple of minor comments. Your previous map showed the lot line to be removed between the two.
Yeah,
Lot
when,
2.
when I redrew the lines to do the calculations, I must have taken that off.
Yeah.
I changed this one, so it says to be added to the existing parcel, so I kind of just.
Yeah,
blocked it,
maybe
But I
just-
can add that label back on.
Just to be clear,
Yep.
yeah. And then density control schedule for lot 2, frontage and lot width, is that, man, I just rechecked that, because the lot
Yeah, I
width
mean-
should get bigger.
Lot 2.
Maybe just
with
check that.
Existing.
On the top, yeah, if you just
I'll-
double
I'll-
check.
Yep.
Survey notes, if you could add those for where you got the topography.
Yep.
Okay, and the short form EAF, just update it for the new layout, whatever needs to be updated for this.
Yeah, just change the project scope to the. lot
Yeah.
line adjustment.
And then there was a couple of, issues we had just on question 9 and 19 that have to be just, checked. I think it was potable water, it didn't say anything. And 18, there was no response. At least the one I looked at a while ago.
Yeah, so that, in the original one, we weren't proposing any construction, so I think that changed with the added requirements for the new lot, but then we're back to square one, which we initially intended to just lot line alteration without any proposed
Right,
changes, but I can add that and address that question and just issue it.
got it. And if, usually there's some response, if it's a no or yes or whatever it is.
Sure.
And obviously the neighbors. Okay, and then, waivers, I don't know if you needed any waivers.
So I actually did, and we addressed this in the last meeting.
did,
I know it's been
okay.
a long time ago now. Those were actually, the request for waivers was included with the project narrative when we originally submitted it. There were 5 or 6, items, I believe it's like sightline distances and a couple other things that pertain to post, actions. So if that's
If it's already
sufficient.
in the file, that's fine.
Yeah, I double checked that, so it is in there, but you know, just let me know if you need it written up in
Okay.
a separate letter. That's, no trouble.
That was it. It was just a lot less complicated.
Sounds like this.
So, what are you doing with the second lot? What's there now? Is it just an empty lot?
So right now we have the large lot.
Okay,
This part right here is actually part of the large lot,
okay,
and we have this 1.5 acre lot. We want this piece to become part and parcel with this. And then we will have a total of just shy of 4 acres.
okay, so. Oh, okay, that was my confusion. So, yeah, that middle line, you just have to add lot line to be removed down the middle. Okay, never mind. My comments were buildable, where I didn't know what you were doing on it, so I was confused, but no, it's,
Wait, so you're moving it or you're removing it?
Remove. This line will
You're
be
just
gone.
removing it.
yeah, you just removing the middle
This
line.
line doesn't exist. Lot line to be added
I see, right.
is labeled right there. I'm just gonna add the note that says lot line to be removed. So we're just gonna kind of shift that way, make this bigger.
So, you just have to update your zoning table to match with existing and prior for both lots. But that's my only comment.
So what do we do next?
So tonight you can, I mean, this isn't, there was a reason I didn't think this was like a formal submission. I think I was confused because it's it's called wetland validation. And I don't like to do preliminary without a resolution, but you could, I think, except for preliminary unless Andy has any objections, but I don't. Besides adding a few changes, we can verbally do prelim if you'd like.
Okay, I did submit subdivision maps that did not have this. I don't know what the confusion was. I brought this in after the fact, after I submitted my paper maps and sent a digital copy, just so it was on file, so we knew everything was, you know, good with the DEC and reviewed. So, they are one and the same, except for this right here with the additional signature on it, so.
And so I went and verified the wetland boundary, and so did the DEC. The only difference is that the town would regulate the pond.
Hmm.
That's on the
Right here.
lot that's changing from one ownership to the other and have a 50-foot
Yep, which would show a town water bound 50-foot buffer.
is accurate. Sean.
Do you think we should do it a preliminary approval?
Yeah, I would do preliminary subject to a couple conditions that we can verbally state.
Okay, and will you do a resolution for next time, or we're just gonna skip that?
Well, if you approve preliminary tonight, there'd be a resolution for final. As long as he's met that and made those changes, he would be final, and this is a type 2 action under seeker, because it's just a lot line variation, so.
We typed it already, but do we have to retype it?
I mean, what'd you
think it
type it
was-
as before?
Wasn't it originally type 2 because there was no. proposed
I think there
construction?
was.
No, it's not type 2 if you had the creation of new lots, then it's an unlisted action.
Okay.
It is now type 2, so you don't need to do anything else, we'll call it type 2 in the resolution.
Okay,
If it's creation of new lots is always unlisted unless it's a major threshold, and you know, something crazy. And then, if it's just a lot line alteration with no creation of new lots, it's type 2. So we'll just put it, when we do the seeker, we'll make it clear that this new proposed is different.
okay, so. You wanna make a motion for preliminary approval?
I make a motion for preliminary approval.
Second?
I'll second it.
So motion for preliminary approval, subject to revise the density control table to match for the existing and proposed conditions of lot 1 and 2. And, lot line to be added, as well as addressing all of Andy Willingham's comments.
Yes, we're not
Yeah.
gonna repeat that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I know, that's why I said it out loud.
Now, as
Okay.
far as the items, with waivers, how will we go about? I just wanna make sure that we have everything clear off the list, so we don't drag that out to another meeting.
Can we just do it in the resolution? or-
Yeah, can you do me a favor? I just started on this board. Can you just write another letter asking for what waivers, so we can just throw them in the resolution? Then, say, especially because now you have a completely new project, so I don't know if they all apply. So just put, does it like, we need X waivers?
Yeah, I mean, they should be all the same ones, but yes, I will, I'll put it.
Yeah, it just makes it easier. And then for the final, I will just be on the final resolution.
Any further discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, thank you. So the process going forward, do we need to do a public hearing for this, or it's just, we should be back for one?
Just for the
meeting to
resolution.
Check that and we're good to go?
You'll have the resolution for
Yeah.
next time?
Well, you should set a public hearing for final. For this, you'll need to set a public hearing for final plat. Unless you don't typically, because do you not treat lot line revision, do you treat lot line revisions differently?
I don't.
No, I think we're working on it, but
It's not, there's not anything on the books that I saw, it's kind of all just under
It's
sub.
follows subdivision code,
Oh, we,
so
yeah.
that's.
So we have to have a
Yeah,
public hearing?
that's it, right?
Yeah, well, it may have led you astray, then you probably needed it for prelim, but you definitely need it for final.
Okay.
It's your call if you'd like, and, I apologize for, it's a
No,
lot
no.
line revision and codes differ, you don't have anything special in your code that skips it.
You can waive it on site plan, but.
You can't waive it on subdivision.
So you can set
So-
a public hearing.
I apologize, you should set the public
Okay.
hearing for preliminary, and I will put that in writing, what we just talked about, for next meeting for preliminary plat.
So wait, let me just organize this in my head. This, I haven't done just, I'm actually doing that for myself somewhere, so in a different jurisdiction. We can set a public hearing and an approval with a resolution on the same day. Is that correct?
Yes, and if you really think that this is ready to go, you could, if you notice for prelim and final, you could actually have a hearing for both. It all depends on how you notice it. If you just notice it for prelim, then you can only do prelim that night. If you notice it for prelim and final plat, you can do both. You just have to hold a hearing on both. But since his is really far along,
You up for this? Next, I'm not there at the next meeting.
and that would be the same resolution. It'd be one resolution for preliminary and final.
I mean, we, in the board,
No, the 10th.
What have you done?
November
Walter?
10th.
in the past, we
Yeah,
had
if we
one.
have
I'm
to
not
do
here
a
on the
public
10th.
hearing, then I have to do mailings for this, right? So how soon? Like
Can
feasibly,
it, like,
if I could get them out this week, is that still soon
Yeah, you
enough
could
to
schedule
be
it for
here
next meeting.
For the next meeting? I mean,
As long as
I'll
you're,
get everything in here. If
So-
And you
allowed,
can get
that's
this
fine.
done.
and then you need to notice it for preliminary and final. Make sure the notice is clear for preliminary plat and final. So you'll have one
Yeah.
resolution,
Okay,
and please submit please submit the waivers before the next hearing, like for the meeting.
I'll try and get that in you as soon as possible, just so we have all our ducks. in a row.
Okay, if you want to do this for next meeting, we could do it for the meeting after, but if you think you'll be
I think,
good.
you know, we're pushing a year that we've been, talking about this project, so I think the client's gonna want to get it through as soon as we can, so
Okay,
if you'll allow me to try and get everything in, I'd love to take a crack at it and see if we can
Okay.
get out back here in 2 weeks. So it's really, you know, I'll have to be in touch with you just about getting, the notification mailing
Mhm.
and, I'll just get those out as soon as I can and be back in touch with all the rest of the
Something
documents.
on the property too.
Yeah, he's got to put a sign up.
Yeah.
Sign on the property?
Yeah, there's instructions, right? You have the set of instructions.
I'll send you an email with all the instructions regarding the mailings and the sign that you need to post.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Okay, we
guys
need a
can vote.
motion. So we had the motion for the,
So that's void, I apologize.
Oh,
so we need a motion for public hearing.
Yeah, so motion to set public hearing for preliminary and final plat on November 10th.
Yes.
There you go.
motion, what was that?
No, you can say so moved, maybe.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can't make the motion, but that's the wording of the motion.
Oh, so I do have to say it.
No.
No, you could just say, I
So
move,
moved,
yeah.
yes, okay.
And then
Okay,
you
you want a
need a
second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in
No.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. I'll be in touch. I'll see you in a few weeks. All right, have a good night.
That whole thing changed. Oh, sorry. Okay, 360 North Ohioville, hi there.
Nice to meet y'all. I'm Luke.
Hi, Lee.
Good to see you again, Melissa. So by way of quick background, as I pass these out, I'm the owner. My wife Olivia and I currently live in town of Ulster. We met in New Paltz more than a decade ago, and we want to make New Paltz our forever home. So the site plans here is our draft at that. The driveway is a particularly complicated part of this project. Given the wetlands on either side, I think Mark's familiar with this from maybe a couple different passes over the years. We were at Fairmain, it was almost 2 years ago at this point, because we purchased the land back in 2023. So since then, we've done our best to do our homework and get to a place where we can have a productive conversation with you all. So we went through, got a survey done again, got redelineated by Eco Capital, Greg Fleischer out of Kingston, and then recognizing the driveway is not up to state or necessarily pending the sort of decision of the local fire. We walked through with those folks. So New Paltz Fire is okay, considering if the driveway as it was currently constructed when it was subdivided in the 90s stays the width it is in terms of us keeping up on the trimming the branches. And then we were able to submit to New York State Secretary of State for a fire code variance. And we also recognize that when January rolled around, DEC, as we've talked about, changed the wetland regulations. So we got a submission in early. We finally got a JD back from them a couple months back, and then have since had the DEC biologist walk through and validate the new redelineated wetland property, which didn't change much. It changed a little bit more conservatively towards the wetlands, but didn't change much from what Mark has reviewed previously. So that's the very high level. We're looking to build a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with septic. And the only activities that would be within the wetland buffer area would be temporary disturbance to install utilities up the existing driveway. We had some discussions with DEC about poles versus trenching. And their perspective is that trenching will be less disruptive than cutting trees and putting poles, which we agree. And we also think that will be a better long-term approach for this project. So it's the driveway, and then there's an area here for parking, which would be crushed stone, would be the proposal. And those are the only two areas that encroach into the buffer. The driveway, of course, would be a temporary disturbance, and this would be a more permanent but minimal disturbance only within the buffer zone itself. Any questions?
Oh,
Good job.
Thanks, doing my best. We do also have an easement here with the neighboring parcel, because when they subdivided, I think it was 92 or 93, and I think who owned this built the driveway, and it does, as the survey showed, it did veer onto Catherine's parcel here. So shortly after purchasing it, we recognized that, and even before engaging with y'all, we have an easement in place for ingress, egress, and utilities installed for this section of the driveway, which avoids the wetland and veers onto her parcel briefly.
okay, who goes first?
I can go quick. I didn't, this is mostly Mark, but my initial thoughts are, it does look like this driveway was put in like 25 years ago, and I just left it there. I know you got a waiver to not, I guess, not do a 12-foot driveway.
Correct.
I guess, my initial thought was maybe a 12-foot driveway is not a bad idea to add to a house for emergency purposes, so that's just something the board can consider. Widen it maybe a little bit. And I think the main thing would be showing a plan that's really specifically for wetland and buffer disturbance. It would show proposed grading, around the septic. Where exactly are you disturbing the buffer, the quantities, disturbing this many square feet, it points to it. And Mark probably get into that a little more. And then it does look like, I know in the code it says to avoiding is your first mitigation. And it looks like maybe this parking area doesn't really need to be in the buffer, but I'll let Mark. Those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, so I know when we first met you out there, the main discussion was around the driveway.
Yep.
There's kind of a lot of things to consider there because.
Yep.
Yeah, the potential, you'd be required to make it wider, or you'd be required to have a turnaround along it. and
Yep.
There's wetlands on both sides, so no matter what you do, you're in the buffer.
Yep.
And it sounds like you've determined that you don't need to go wider, you don't need to build them. Partway down. I did find some language in the code that says, basically maintaining driveways and not expanding their footprint. Is, a permit's not required. But you are doing the trenching. So I guess if, my attention now sort of goes to this, trying to avoid, you need to be able to access it, right? You need to be able to get in here and, But, so I'm not sure there's any way for you to, avoid, and you need to have utilities, so I'm not sure there's a way to avoid anything here further than you've already done. But I would ask the proposed parking area here, is there any way to keep that outside of the buffer?
Okay, yeah, I will take another look at that for sure. It's our goal to avoid wherever possible as well. Part of the challenge is the topography of this. So this is a high point in the lot behind the home. And if we put the parking in front of the home, it will delete most of our usable space that's not within the buffer zone. So that totally on the same page. We'd love to avoid it. And we'll see with our designer here if there's a way we can at least avoid that, if not mitigate the area that it encroaches. It is, I think, below what the DEC calls for. We did get a general permit issued for this activity in the driveway, but totally respect and appreciate your feedback.
So they've already issued that, these.
Yeah, they issued that,
general
yeah.
permit, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, there's not a lot you can do here to change what you propose, but here perhaps there is.
Understood.
And I could flag that language today, because I went looking for it. It does talk about it's in.
Yeah, it's like parking areas and a few other examples less than a certain, or unless you're not talking about the DEC.
No, this is the town code.
Oh, town code,
These
gotcha.
are activities allowed without permits.
Understood.
For purpose, paving of an existing driveway shall constitute ordinary maintenance and repair as long as such paving does not raise the surface by more than 6 inches or expand its horizontal boundaries.
Mhm.
Kind of what you're doing, although you're doing
Well,
trenching as well.
Yeah, and trenching as well, correct. Yeah, so
You can't avoid a permit, but I think that Well, like I said, this sounds unavoidable to me. This sounds perhaps avoidable.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I also had a question about the driveway. Your easement's only from 2023, so is the driveway pre-existing and how do you know?
We looked at satellite photos as far back as we could see.
So is it I guess my confusion is it a vacant lot now?
Mhm. So someone, we believe, and we got in contact with the previous owner's son, so we have secondhand information and satellite images, but this was subdivided. It's in the file. I think it was 92 or 93. And because these flagpole lots were created, this was an existing, I think, farm road. And then this appears to have been built and then left more or less dormant. It's made of gravel and not too many plants have overgrown it, but it certainly is a vacant lot and hasn't been maintained on an annual basis.
So I think one thing, and I don't know if it'll make a difference to the engineer or the wetlands inspector, but for me, if you could show that was the intended driveway when you had the subdivision plat, when it was filed, I think that makes a difference on whether it's pre-existing and whether or not you will for the trenching, you'll need a short form permit for the trenching. But, well, you'll truly need a permit for the driveway. I think if you could show it on it, it'll be clear based on the filed map that was ever intended to be a driveway. Because then you can't create a flag lot, in the 90s, so without having some kind of provable buildable access. So I think that's one way. Maybe if you could find the map, it's filed with the county, so you just have to go on the county
Okay,
records and find the filed map number. It might even be on your prior deed. It probably is on your prior deed.
okay, that's helpful.
So I
Thank you.
think that's one thing that maybe the board can look at for help.
I did verify, because we've heard kind of some stories before, but yeah, it's always been there, so I go and check.
No, I
Look at
get
there,
it.
and it was there, it was built in the late 90s, so the driveway was installed, but I see your point of showing.
Yeah, well, it's also intention, right? Because the wetland most likely has always been there, so it's one way to prove the intention of the original subdivision, and what was prior approved. And also literally checking aerial settlements is also the second way to prove. The same comments on the parking area. There's no reason to go into the buffer. You could, you just have to reconfigure, and if you have to make it longer or get a waiver for something else to make a different driveway, you're not in the wetland. It doesn't seem like it's
So
needed.
this driveway is 12 feet, right? What?
And not in all places. In most places it is, but in a few places, especially near the wetland, it gets closer to 10, which is why I filed for a variance with the Secretary of State.
And then, yeah, you need a wetlands plan. You need to clearly show where the buffer is, how close you are to the buffer, all setbacks at all times.
Okay, that should all be noted here.
Yeah, but clear, I mean, it is, but I like it a little more clearly spelled out, but maybe that's just me. I'm not an engineer, but
Okay, are there some examples that we could chase on that in terms of what that would look like visually for you?
what do you think, Andrew? I feel like it's not a true disturbance plan, like it doesn't really have.
Yeah, typically a disturbance plan will, show the limits of grading, so like, for example, when you build a little parking area, the edge of the parking, it's the limit of disturbance, so you grade a little bit of the area around it, so you can build it, so there's a limit of disturbance. And then there's a quantity of area in that buffer, this is, 2,500 square feet in the buffer that we're disturbing, that's usually what a plan like this would say.
Or
Okay,
if you're getting into the buffer, like, whatever percentage in the buffer, stuff like that, or, if you're drenching, it will say where, like, it's just, a disturbance plan is more in depth and it is required by the code.
okay. Are there some examples on current projects we could reference for those disturbance plans?
There's been a few.
Well, let me ask this, the trenching, what's the extent of the trenching?
Like length, depth?
Yeah,
It would be approximately 900 feet by, I think the the code gets it close to 36 feet deep or 3 inches deep.
yeah.
That's just for electric, right?
Right. I'm just thinking this through, because let's just hypothetically, you were to take that out of the buffer. And your driveway improvements, at least my interpretation is that it's an activity that does not require a permit.
Okay,
So it's hypothetically, if that's not a disturbance there, then your disturbance is the trenching.
as a temporary disturbance, yeah.
Right, and that's what I would need, from my point of view, to understand better, to sort of demonstrate how much area is being, the width and the depth and the length of that trenching.
Uh-huh.
would be the most important. Because that's the activity that requires the permit.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so we had included a bit of like narrative, but you're looking for a visual representation. Oh, that looks like a very specific spec there.
Yeah, so I could quantify the impact.
Okay, so,
Because if it was, we've had cases where there's a bit of utility that just passes through a small distance of wetlands, and if it's, say, 50 square feet of disturbance, I'm able to make a notice of determination, and there's no permit required for something of that length.
okay,
That's not gonna happen, so I just need to be able to sort of quantify that.
okay. And no project's created equal, so I did ask for, if there were some examples, but like, if I put a picture in front of you that's a zoomed in version of this, essentially, that has silt fencing and shows where the trench is that what you're looking for? or-
Yeah, dimensions.
So your septic system engineer, Hudson Land Design,
Mhm.
has done these plans in this town.
Yeah, we've got the septic, we just don't have something similar for the
That's what I'm
driveway.
saying, if you need somebody to tell you what it's supposed to look like, he's done it.
Okay, understood.
Yeah,
Where's your water line? Are you having, is it well water or is it municipal?
Proposed well right there.
And this one's pretty simple. This isn't a complicated one, but it should focus and identify what the impacts to the wetlands
Sure,
are.
no, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm more clear now on that, and as discussed, we can talk about the placement of the driveway. And with the topo in the corner there, it's gonna be a little bit tricky because we don't wanna move around an entire hill, but we'll do our best and come back with our proposal for review. Anyone else have further questions or requests for the next round here?
Is there anything else we need to do? I don't think so.
Yeah, this time, if we can find the plan.
Mhm.
Okay, so the disturbance plan on the driveway itself.
You put that down there?
No, I put, disturbance plan in general needs to be.
And then in the event that our designer does not find another suitable place to put the driveway, because I think the only other option is not near the house or directly in front of the house, then can we include the disturbance plan here and you can review that and see if that's acceptable, or what's the proposal for the parking area?
if you were to show, I mean, you're saying if you were to leave that.
Yeah, it's just gonna be really tricky to find another place for the driveway because this is the only other area and it's directly in front of the house. So it's our sort of our long-term usable area, and I'd rather not have my driveway turned into a front yard. Or vice versa. Yeah, thank you.
What about on the side of the house?
We would just have to go back with the design firm, and I recognize that we took we moved forward with some designs without going through this process, but we would need to essentially retool the floor plan of the house given how it's set up right now. So I'm looking to avoid that if possible, but I understand and appreciate the feedback.
I mean, I'm the wetland inspector, but the town board, it's the board here, the planning board that decides whether they issue the permit and
Yeah.
how much to ask you in terms of, awarding.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You have to look at.
And I also care about the wetland and the environment, so I'm not trying to create long-term damage and respect this process. So thank you all for the time.
Now, this sheet right here does not show, like, I see the stream on here, but it
Mhm.
doesn't, and I know the wetlands were delineated, but I don't see the wetland boundary on here. It's not over here.
Like within the stream itself.
No, just, let's see.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
there's wetlands here, there's wetlands here. And I know they were flagged. I thought I remembered seeing them on earlier plans. Like, I see this wetland buffer line. I don't see any wetland lines down here. I thought there were wetlands all along the north side.
Is that the previous one?
Make it onto this plans. This is under the Hudson Land Design.
So yeah, that was a previous delineation. I think Mike Nowicki had done it one years ago, and we had that redone by Greg Fleischer at Eco Capital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And did he give you the points like this?
Yeah, and the flags are still up and out there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could put them on the plans here?
Happens every meeting.
So I believe all the flags should be picked up as like A15 through, like, I think the WF is wetlands flag in the surveyor's notation. Yeah.
But the point of like just having a line instead of just flags on the, it'll help you visually see where the impact is.
Yeah, so you're looking for more of like an icon or an indicator for the
Yeah,
wetland?
usually like a line, like a thick line, a solid line, something that looks different than other lines.
Okay, got it. So right now we have the setbacks and the wetland both as a dash line. Is there a proposal for the formatting so that we can bring that up to par?
I mean, if it's a dot line here, it should probably be a dot line there.
It's not understandable if the line is there.
Yeah,
I don't know. Lyle, did you have something about this project that you wanted to talk about?
I just what I would say is the length of the driveway is also an issue. That no fire truck is gonna go down there further than 150 feet without a turnout, which is an additional disturbance either way you go on the side of the road, which probably an average turnout might be 55 feet for like a fire truck to pull off the road to let another vehicle go past. So I think that there are some other issues there.
So I think we've mitigated that because we had Patrick Koch go out and walk it and he said it was fine. And then the New York State Secretary of State issued us a permanent variance for the
That
length
was for
and
the width only.
or having turnouts. The driveway, they deemed it acceptable as is for emergency access, so we did not have to further encroach on the wetlands.
Do we have that?
Yeah, it's uploaded to our,
Okay.
I don't understand.
So their variance was for the width of the driveway?
the width and including the fact that the length would require turnoffs. Both, all of the,
Well,
so,
there's state fire code and then there's town zoning code, right? So, I mean, typically, what does this board do? Do you guys usually have do you usually have fire weigh in? Do you usually send it to the fire chief or fire, whoever, inspector, whoever you have?
Well, and the
Not
last few
normally.
times we did it, we weren't lucky.
Yeah.
We didn't get any responses. So,
yeah, I did upload email correspondence with Patrick Koch where he was kind enough to walk it last winter and decided and sent us an email with a screenshot, basically said, keep these trees in the width of the driveway and we're good. We can get a truck up there if we need.
He's from the town.
He's from the town. He was assistant fire
is
chief.
he still there?
I do not know. Sorry.
So if this was approved, and I'm just gonna ask this to our attorney, if this was approved in 1992 as a lot, why did he need a variance now?
Okay, so there's different kinds of variances, right? So he's talking about, which I just opened, a state fire code variance. So there's town zoning variances, and then there's obviously, like fire code variances, building code variances. So he doesn't need, unless you have, I don't think you ever got a zoning code variance, correct? Yeah, so it's pursuant to your zoning. What he got, which I'm looking at now, is a fire code variance, but that doesn't preempt local zoning. So if it meets fire code, but your town code says that you have to have something be 20 feet, he still has to meet the 20 feet. You could be more restrictive. You're not preemptive from more restrictive zoning laws. You're just preemptive from like weaker laws. So if it's not the fire code or municipal, it's municipal and the fire code. So he got a fire code variance, which he's right, it is for turnaround. If there is a municipal code on on point, you'd have to meet both. He would need a variance for both.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, that's
When
my
we
understanding.
refer to that, we refer to the New York State Fire Code when we say 12-foot wide driveway and walls. I don't believe town has a requirement.
That was the feedback I got speaking with the previous inspector, building inspector, who recommended that we would need to take it up with the state if we were to look for a variance, which is what I did.
So, I mean, if you don't have something on point, then you just point to the fire code for that safety regulation. Unless you have, you as site plan, though this is technically wetland permit, but it is a special permit under site plan. You do have safety provisions built into your code. If you do have concerns, such as getting a fire letter, DPW to go out and walk it, you could do a site visit. If you're concerned about the driveway, I mean, there's many options. You're not limited to just In fact, your wetlands code is actually very broad, so I think there's a lot of safety factors, not just environmental ones, when you're looking at this permit, so if you're concerned about the safety, it's, you know, it's something the board could discuss, if you wanna go walk it or ask for fire.
I would like to ask for fire. Local. And you said you already spoke to someone.
Yeah, I think it should be uploaded to the file, the email correspondence.
The local fire.
Yeah, it was the town of New Paltz Assistant Fire Chief in February of
It's a good idea.
24.
If he wants to say the same thing he said before, then it's fine, but I think it's appropriate.
Okay.
Agreed. And like, I apologize, it might be in here, I don't see it, it doesn't mean it's not.
Okay, it was a different kind of file. I don't think it was a PDF, so I can go back and try.
What are you looking for, the determination by the file?
Yeah,
I'm looking at the
Open it, so I didn't
Local one,
upload
is
it.
that our local?
Oh, no, our
I saw
local.
the DYS, the state, I just didn't see the.
And you're saying there's no rules in the town code that dictate what the driveway has to be?
I don't see it, I could keep, like, I'm gonna have to really scour.
There's some requirements, they're definitely not as strict as New York State Fire Code, which just changed, years ago.
He got a variance from New York State for the fire.
I got it. I see, it just says it's applicable locally, I still have to follow local regulation. Where
Correct,
there's
so
no
it's never
local,
preempted,
right,
Yeah.
if there's no local regulation, then it's local regulation.
exactly, and, you know, doesn't mean the fire chief can't say he wants a wider turnaround radius, the fire chief is, at the end of the day, the person who enforces your local fire code,
There's
so.
like a volunteer fire chief, you're putting it on a volunteer fire.
Fire chief.
You're
You
very
can't-
powerful. I'm sorry. Say it
Fire
again.
code official, which in this case would be me, trumps the fire chief.
There we go.
No question, we don't have any idea if he's ever had a, code enforcement class at all. He's the chief of his company, he directs the actions of his company, he doesn't direct fire code.
Have you been out there, Lyle?
No, I haven't.
Would you be able to take a
Absolutely.
A trip out there?
sure. Yeah.
Okay, I think like that would be good.
Yeah, and yeah, he's the fire code official, and I just don't know for your town.
No,
He
that's fine.
trumps it Over, you know,
Okay.
depends on who services you and
Why
what.
don't we do that? Okay,
You
so
guys can
while
walk with him too, if you
All
like.
right.
Yeah,
Normally,
happy to
so-
do that. So if there is no local regulation, I guess, then what is Lyle comparing and contrasting against, like his own subjective analysis
Yeah,
or just like the state code?
Well, in state code, or if the town has a code that's more strict, it can't be less strict,
Okay,
it's more strict, and you enforce that.
okay, understood. But I think we're all thinking that there's no town code.
You can't pop that on me, the code's long,
Okay.
like I gotta look that up.
All right, so we're all leaning in the direction, there's probably not a town code, but if there was, Lyle's gonna help assess that against what we see on the site. Is that fair? Cool, I'm understanding, thank you. So that's the next step. Another next step for me is to circle back with our consultants to figure out how to build a disturbance plan.
Yeah, let me say one more thing about that. So I said like quantifying the area of disturbance. So one
Mhm.
thing that's important to know is how much of that is in the regulated area or in the wetland or in the associated buffer area and how much is outside of it.
Yeah,
And as I'm looking at this plan, like there's this line called WF.
Mhm.
Then they just sort of end here by the 825.
Mhm.
And I see a pond, but it seems like this line ought to continue. And I don't know where this goes from here. Maybe it goes off the property, but you need to show like where that trenching is proposed and where the wetland line is. It seems to kind of end here.
okay,
And, you know, there'd be buffer area around the pond. I can't really tell.
understood.
I remember there being flags, but I don't quite follow them.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Yes. Cheat code.
Let's see, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna see you back again. We're gonna have
Yeah.
an appointment with Lyle.
Yep, yeah, I'll
And
coordinate.
If Lyle, if you wanna tell us when you're going, and if anyone on the board wants to go with you. Once you make the
Yeah,
appointment.
sounds good.
Oh, you know what, I'm sorry. Can you sign this? It's just a few of the things we talked about. You can have that.
Yeah, for sure.
sign where it says applicant, please. Okay, this is not necessarily everything, just a few reminders.
Sure. Cool. I'll leave these with y'all. Anything else you need from me? In the meantime? Cool. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it all.
Thank you.
Yeah, be well.
If something gets approved 30 years ago, you still have to get a variance from.
Well, it's, so it all depends on, it's so specific, right? So, yeah, just very specific of, he doesn't need a variance from the town, he needs a variance from the state fire code updates, what, every 4 years, building codes update every couple of years.
So even if you have a lot, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, because then it's who's doing who's doing the enforcing and who's, yeah, I mean, if tomorrow that it's, things aren't stagnant because tomorrow if it gets flooded out and then it's always full of water, the water doesn't magically go away. You can't say it was approved 10 years ago. And if you didn't build it, you don't normally have vested rights.
That's what I want to know.
And there's language in that law. Every law has a different language about
Correct.
pre-existing non-conforming, if the lot was created before it's this year or whatever, then you're grandfathered in, and there was language in that law. I think
And we have driveway width.
we do have, I think we have a driveway code, like you have to have a driveway to your house. But I know it's much less strict than,
Less strict than 12 feet? The driveway code is
That was-
less strict than.
Yeah,
12
it used to
feet?
be.
Don't you have to, like, when you build a building, doesn't the driveway have to be a certain width?
He's saying
You're
yes.
saying
but
it's
it's-
less than
now
12 feet?
It used to be, yeah, it didn't become 12 feet, I think, until I think 2010. But it used to be 10 feet, driveway used to be 10 feet to most houses.
So then what does Lyle have to go on? That's the point.
Our code, I'm sure there is a section in the code about driveways to residential.
Yeah, I scoured it a little bit, but
Probably
it's gonna
pretty
take a
vague.
while to find it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been looking this whole time too. It's, yeah, so it all depends on what provision of the code you're talking about, what year it was built. The driveway thing is like, if it hasn't been used as a driveway, also, he could have lost vested rights. It just depends on specific, like I'd have to know, was it intention to create?
Mhm.
And then has it ever been used as a driveway? Why do you think it's ever been used? And it's a vacant lot, so it hasn't been used, right? It wasn't built yet, so
No.
he doesn't have vested rights because it hasn't been built yet, so. I
Okay.
mean, that's an easy decision, but in terms of looking at, how do you know a driveway was ever intended to be there? The best way to know and make sure people just weren't driving on it is to pull the filed map. Because the filed map is supposed to plot out each driveway for viability.
All right, so we have a little work to do and, and hopefully you'll be able to get out there soon. Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Too many Thursdays in a row. I was like, wait,
I don't
what do you mean?
wonder if
You
that's.
texted me, I'm like, what?
You just make. You're out or?
I was just
Bobco
I
never.
was just ready to sit down and eat dinner. I got a text.